Well, hi guys, welcome to another episode. In this one we're going to show you how to put some anti-flaps on a caravan. We had a little bit of a mishap with our awning, but anyway, that's another story. So what we're going to do is get and have a look at putting up the anti-flap. So yes, we're back at home at the moment, but we're going to have a go at putting the anti-flaps in. So we've got the new awning up, so that's good. We've actually put another clothesline in. If you want to know a little bit more about that, we can sort of do another video, but there's plenty of them out there on YouTube. But if you want me to do another one, quite happy to do it. So let's get started. The first things you're going to need is a few tools. So we've got our little handy table here. So we're going to set the table up and get cracking on putting up the awning. So this is where we're going to start first at this end. So what we will do, get a bit of tape. This is just tape. Get this basically Bunnings wherever. But what we do first is on the track, on the underside of the track here, we'll put a bit of that tape on, and you'll see why in a second. So there we go. We've got our tape in position. Now the other thing we're going to need is our anti-flap. Okay, grab one end of the anti-flap, undo your clips so they're all nice and loose, and you've got the flap section wide open, and you've got these little clips and they'll go on the end. Now what I've done, or what I'd suggest, is put that clip on, just balance it there, then put the anti-flap up. Now the reason for this is you want to get this edge right up into here. So let's do that now, and make sure your bracket hits the caravan wall. When you're happy with the position, close your clips like so. Perfect. Not quite, but we're getting there. So you've got to make sure that the canvas material on your awning actually clamps underneath the anti-flap. Once you've got that, that's locked into position. That's perfect. Now what you'll need is a marking pen, because we've put our tape up there. So what we can do now is get a good position for this first bracket. So I'm going to push that up high and mark the first one, and do the same on the other side. Now what that's going to ensure is that every time you use your anti-flap, it's going to actually bite into the canvas. There's nothing worse than if it doesn't do that. So now we've got our two holes up here, and we can actually mount the first bracket. So for the first bracket, I'm just going to use a 1/8 drill bit. Oh, hang on, here we go. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to go. Now I've actually got a couple of self-drilling screws. I'll just show you those. They're just the standard screws, self-drillers. They work quite well. I think the screws that they come with the awnings may be a little bit small. So here we go for our first one. Now I've left the tape up there so we can see exactly where we've got to drill our first holes. So just watch you don't do any damage to the awning. There you go, that's the first one. And there's our second one. And actually we've got a bit of fixing behind that, which is good. So thank you Hilltop for that. So now we're going to change the drill bit over to our Phillips bit, and we're going to mount the first bracket. So here we go. By pre-drilling the holes, it means that your screws are not going to slip around, and they're going to go in the right place at the right time. Perfect. And just drop the other one in. Now that's a good solid fixing. So now before we go too much further, again, grab your bracket. Make sure it's open. And make sure they fit and that everything's going to go in nice and smooth. Make sure that that canvas on your awning is tucked right in there, because as you guys know, once the wind picks up on these things, all hell breaks loose. That's where a lot of people have lost a lot of awnings. All right, so I'm very happy with that. So now we can move on to the next one. Now, the next part that I'm going to do is the other side, so we're going to actually duplicate what I've done there on the other side. So I'm not going to bore you with all the fiddly stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and mount that bracket, and then we'll start working on the two centre brackets. Okay, now we've got all the brackets now up, so there's 1, 2, 3 and 4. So they're the 4 brackets affixed to the caravan. The next step will be a little bit more interesting, because we've got to actually start drilling some holes in that lovely new barrel. So we've got to get that right. But before I do, just before I was explaining how to make sure that that awning is sitting into clamping onto the roof sheet, this is what I mean. You know, the edge of the awning is here, and that's your anti-flap there. So once that's in the correct position, everything else should be pretty good, because once that wind hits, you really don't want these things to let go. So now we'll move on to the next step, is putting those little babies up there. Look, one thing I'm going to mention before we proceed too far, and that is, before you start, make sure your awning is fully out, fully extended, and that you're happy with the position of it, because if you have it too short, you're not going to get the holes right in the barrel. Now, I've just put that main beam up, and that's clamped up here. And as you can see, it's actually gripping quite nicely here and all the way along. So in my mind, that's looking pretty good. Now we've got, I'll see if I can get the camera in the right position here, but you can actually see where the spriget, or that point, is actually leaning up against the top here. Now that's too far up. So what I'm going to do is actually release these clips a little bit, slide it in just a touch, bring it to about the barrel. Hang on, I'll just have to grab that, lock that into position. There we go. So instead of being tucked right up in that corner, I've actually brought it down to about the second crease in the fold of the barrel. So I think that'll be a good spot, or the good position, starting position, for that first spar bar to go in. So as I said, I can lock those back up, so they're in position. Now, I did mention our clothesline. That did help me, because I could actually have that little spriget point there resting on the clothesline, and then it made it a bit easier to go up. But if you've got a second person to help you, that would be preferable. Okay, I'm going to mark that and then we can drill that, and so that's our first spar, or our first bar on, and then what we'll do is we'll do the same on the other side over there. Okay, we're now ready to drill our first hole. Now, as I was talking before, there's the folds or the creases, and this is the line that we want to follow all the way through to the end for the other spars or the other supports for the anti-flaps. So I'm going to drill that first hole. Now I am going to drill it with a small drill first. Don't go in with a big drill. Drill a pilot hole first, and then you can always widen the hole to the size of the diameter of that spar. I'll try and find out what that is and put it in the video. So here we go, we're going to drill a hole and make a start. Okay, now we've drilled our holes, we've got our brackets up, we're going to put the first spar in. Now what I've done is I've actually pushed the spar in, and now what I'm going to do is put it up. So what we'll do is we'll hook it into our little bracket first. Now make sure that that bracket goes in, then just push it over the top, and then what I'm going to do is push that out just slightly so it hits the barrel a little bit. I'm going to lock these ones up here. So I've locked these into position so they don't fall down on me. Now, because we haven't screwed this up, this will allow me to move this in and basically slide it into the hole that we've just created. And basically now I can just lock it all up. So that's pretty much it. Now we've got to do exactly the same on the other side, but before we do that I'll show you what it looks like from up the top here. Okay, now that the spar's in its right spot, everything's looking good, let's check from the top. If we have a look up the top here, we can actually see now that the fabric has been caught by the anti-flap device, which in my mind is pretty much perfect. So there's no undue stress on the canvas or the shade cloth here, but it's just, I don't know, pretty darn good. So now we're going to do the other side and we'll see how that goes. Remember from the last time, bit of tape so that we can actually mark it. So I'm going to put 2 bits of tape, one up higher and one just a little bit lower. So that's a good starting point. So now we'll get our anti-flaps. Get rid of the tape that we don't need. Just make sure you got them the right way around. So these are all open. So and then I usually lock that nut so that it doesn't come off. Then what we're going to do is clip it in. Open that little nut again, and because we're clipped in at the other side there, I can now pull this spar and pull it to where I need it to go. So once we're happy with the position, I'm just feeling at the top. How are you? Okay, now that we've got this up, we've actually pushed the bracket closer over to here, and now what we're going to do is actually mark our hole. I'm just going to check a few things before we do that. Remember, always check twice, then drill once. So that's looking pretty good there. I'm pretty happy with that. So remember, we followed that seam with the last spar, so we're going to do exactly the same again with this one. So I'm going to release that a little bit and just make sure I get that spot on. So that's where we're going to drill our hole, and it's in that crease, so that should be fine. So I think we're pretty much good to go. You can actually put these spars up and down from here. You don't need ladders, but I'm doing ladders because we're actually refitting all of this. So yeah, anyway, we'll just take that off. Now, just to make things lighter, we'll slide that off. Oops. Now that makes it a little bit easier to take off. Hang on, leave my glasses there. So very simply just... Oh, don't you love that? Okay. So yeah, taking the spar on and off is pretty easy. Okay. Oh, gee whiz. Okay. Now, first of all, we'll just check to see whether this is going to fit. Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do, just to make things easier, we're going to put this on first. It slips in. Oops. Make sure it goes in. Now I'm sliding it all the way to the top. And because we're stuck in at the top up there, we should be fine. Okay, and there we go. Our anti-flap is in. Now again, I'll grab the camera from here. Now I haven't had a look at this, so let's see what it looks like from up here. So, looks like everything's pretty much spot on. So, very good job. Okay, now we shall take this down, and I'm just using a little stool here, that's okay. So, we undo our clips, loosen that off, slide that, then we can drop that, or Robin can grab that for me. Undo your clips here again, and then what we've got to do is make sure that the clip is in the right position and she slides straight out. And it's honestly that simple. So we've got another 2 spars to put in, and then we're done. And see how we go. Okay. Okay, now what we've done is we've got the brackets up the top there. That's these ones. So we've got one there and one over the corner. So what we've done is we've measured from this point to the end, that point to the end, and then transferred those measurements up onto our barrel, which is up there and here. So now we're going to put the centre spars in now. So we're going to start drilling some holes. So when you drill, just pop your hand up above so that the chuck doesn't spin and hit your your material up the top there. So here we go. So again, we're in that same groove as we've got our other ones. Okay, that's that one. So that was our pilot hole. Now we're going to drill the correct size. Again, my hand's up above. God, it's making it harder than what it should be. Oh, okay. We've got that hole in, and now we're just removing our tape. Again, we haven't done any more damage. So we'll do the same on the other side. So we've got that spar there. Let's just see how we go with it all. So these are the spars of the brackets. These are the curved ones. So what that'll do is set the roof up for any rainfall, which is good. So that's ready to go. So again, clip that in. Bring that across. Lock it in. Perfect job. Now, if we can do the same on the other side, will be great. So last one to go, guys. So that's our pilot hole. Again, we're checking to make sure we're in the same crease. And there's our mark, hand above again, just to make sure. Then we put the correct size drill in. Hand above. Yep, hand above. Oh, that's all right. Drill's fine. Okay. Now again, just take our tape off. No damage to our canvas. Now we get our final spar. And hooking it into position. So there you have it, all nice and neat. Got a nice curved spar, and water should run off towards that way. What we normally do is we sort of lean one side of the awning down so that when the water hits it, it sort of runs off. But that's a lot more stable now in those high winds. So anti-flaps, definitely worth buying them. Anyway, again, thank you for watching. If you like what we've done, please like and subscribe, and we'll try and get some more videos to you soon. Thanks again for watching. Okay, the anti-flaps are done, and this is what it looks like from the roof section. I am pretty happy with that. So bring on the rough weather. We are now ready. Before we sign off, there's one other thing I'd like to tell you about the Aussie Traveller. They've got these great little slots here that you can actually put another awning in. So yeah, just slide it in that way, bring it back that way, all good. So all in all, very happy with this little install.